Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast. I'm Joshua.
I'm Kim. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Market Mystics. It's good to have you all back. We are excited to be here today. We're excited to have this conversation with you guys. But to kick off the way we have been, we have a question from kids. Also, Kim made a post on our social media about asking people for questions from kids. So you guys should go leave some comments.
That's true. You should. That would be great.
I think so.
Yes. So the question for today is, if our universe is so vast, are we the only place with life? Great question.
I think it's a great question. One of my favorite questions to think about.
True.
My first instinct is absolutely not. We're absolutely not the only place with life. And without getting into aliens or whatever you want to call it, we just simply know that Jesus came to earth from somewhere else. And so that, to me, just from a very simple point of view, implies that there is life somewhere else in some other, possibly in some other form and fashion that is different than ours. But that must be able to sustain life with a human body, because when Jesus ascended into heaven, he took his body. So somewhere, just from that point of view, there must be life somewhere else.
That was a good answer. I feel like I don't have that much insight into this, except that I think that yes, there's life elsewhere besides just the earth, but I think very possibly it might look so different from the human experience and us as people that we may not even think of it as a different life form.
Sure.
I think the possibilities are endless. And I know that our Creator is creative. And so I know that we aren't his only creation. I mean, he created the heavens and the earth. And in many ways of looking at the heavens, the whole universe is included in that.
Yeah.
When we as earthlings refer to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that he ever stopped creating. I just think that's who he is. I think he is a creator. So like you said, it's possible we're the only creation that looks just like us, lives just like us. And so maybe it depends how you define life, but yeah, I do believe that there is life in other places. But I think that's a great question. And I think it's something that humanity must have wrestled with forever. And I just think about all of the writings of people writing space stories. And yes, fictional, but also there's this something in us that's there's gotta be something out there. And do we have definitive proof? No, although I do think I do think the fact that Jesus ascended somewhere and took his body must be somewhat proof that there's life somewhere. But yes, I don't exactly know what it looks like or where it is or what it will be like. But I do think that it's a real thing.
Yeah. Did you ask ChatGPT on this?
I did ask ChatGPT. And it said the study on extraterrestrial life is an exciting field of study, and while there is no definitive proof, there is there are things that lead people to believe there might have been life on other planets, at least at some point of time, just because there's things that look formed, not just natural. There's things that look like dried riverbeds. Like there are aspects to life and other places that would lead you to think life might have existed there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. There was one other thing I was going to say about that, but I don't remember what it is. So let's just move on to the topic.
Okay, let's move on to the topic. Today, I wanted to talk about favor. And really kind of the concept of living from a place of favor, knowing who you are. And I would even say, like, resting in the fact that you are a son of God. I know a lot of people will want to say, oh, I'm a daughter of God. Well, yeah, listen, if Josh is the bride of Christ, then I can be the son of God, right? Like, if we could just take gender out of this.
Right.
But as a son of God, and knowing who you are, knowing also that you live with immense favor and that it is available for you because of simply who you are. And so I would even say, I was thinking about this today on my way home. I was thinking about being a favorite. And I would say that when you're living in favor from God, like, you are one of his favorites. You know what I mean? Like, you have been given favor because he gives it to you, right? So you're a favorite. And I just kind of like that idea. And I haven't always lived by this, but when I really started focusing on that and reminding myself, because it doesn't always come naturally, right? Like, when things start piling up, circumstances in your life start piling up that may seem negative, it is not the easiest thing to think you're favored, believe you're favored, or behave as though you are favored.
Right.
But sometimes just reminding yourself of that, things can really shift from looking like everything is falling apart into, wow, I really am very favored and things are coming together. So that's kind of where I want to start.
Yeah. So much of this is making me think of, like, the conversations we've had on sovereignty, or just taking responsibility for your life. Like, just the mindset you have can really change a situation, and take something that may not feel like a good thing, and make it something that's something that doesn't have to be horrible. And it's just a mindset. And so you can look at a situation, even like a good situation, like, you can downplay a good situation by simply saying, like, oh yeah, I worked really hard. I deserved to get that job. I deserved to get that raise. I deserved, like, to do that because I worked so hard for it. But you could also say, yeah, I worked hard and I practiced for it, but, like, it was still favor that I was chosen for it. Like, you can choose to look at things as a blessing or not. And while that, like, it doesn't discount any effort you put into it as well. Like, you co-labored. But there is I don't know. I think sometimes I think it can be pride, and we want to say, either everything came from God or everything came from us, and God's looking for us to put ourselves into situations where he can favor us. Like, I think that's a really cool opportunity, like, to say, for God to say, okay, like, go do something so I can show you favor. Like, we've talked about the concept of, like, it's easier for God to steer a moving ship than to get a ship that's not moving. And I think that's kind of the same thing. Like, if you're already doing something, if you're creating a business, if you're, trying to sell artwork or do something, like, if you, like, can he just randomly bless you with an idea and then you go create it? Yeah. But also you can go create something and he can bless what you've created. Like, that's also a possibility.
Mm-hmm. I like what you were talking about, and like doing the work and then being able to say, oh, well, I deserve this. I think there's a difference between earning something and being favored and being given it. And it's even, I feel like a little bit of rub in talking about this, just because the society in which we live values hard work so much, right? I mean, the United States is a capitalist country, and it is like, go out and earn it, right?
Yeah. The more hours, the better.
But what if we were actually born into a system where it is just granted? And it doesn't mean that you don't go do something, but it means that that doesn't qualify you to receive the favor or not. So you don't actually have to earn it. Kind of like the forgiveness of sins. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to earn that. It's freely given, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like the love of God. You don't have to go earn it. It is just freely given. I would argue the same with favor. And I've seen it outworked many, many, many times with people who are both wildly devout and those who have barely ever uttered, let alone thought about God, you know? And it really is an interesting and powerful thing when you start positioning yourself or taking up the posture of sitting in favor. Like, when you start believing that you are favored, you will start seeing the favor. Josh and I have had so many fun times with favor. I can think of one time in particular. We were traveling. We had a flight canceled in France. And so we were waiting in a customs line to go into the city. And I don't know how many people were in there, probably 5,000, 10,000 people.
It was a lot of people.
It was so crowded. Lines were snaking. There was no straight line. And there were only so many customs like kiosks to go through.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long we were in there, probably 45 minutes.
I was going to say 45 minutes, and we had moved like a foot or two.
Right. It was like not far at all. And then we just had this conversation. It's like, why are we doing this? We know that we have favor. So why are we not like stepping into that? And it wasn't even like, oh God, please show us your favor in this. It was putting ourselves in the position to receive it. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And maybe 30 seconds later, maybe customs at rep, what would you call it? Not guard, like
custom agent, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, agent. Walked right past us and said, "You guys come with me. I'm opening a new line."
I mean, walked past hundreds of people,
thousands
stopped
probably,
where we were, and said, "At this point, starting a new line."
Right. And mind you, we had already been traveling overnight. It's not like we were dressed to the nines and looked like really important people.
No,
in the
very
natural,
shabby.
right. Unshowered. I
Yes.
think we might have stopped and brushed our teeth. I'm not sure, but it's not like we looked like VIPs or something.
Right.
But legitimately, they just stopped. They said, "You guys come with me." And we went, and then we were through the kiosk in a minute and a half, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it was like in line for 45 minutes, out of the airport in the next 5.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild. But it's not the only time that this has happened. And we haven't seen those things happen until we position ourselves to receive favor.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very powerful thing. And you might even think like, well, if we all position ourselves in favor, then no one will be favored. And that's actually not how it works. Like, that's not God math. You know how people are talking about like girl math or whatever, right? God math isn't like subtraction or division. I think God math is multiplication.
Yeah.
It's exponential. And I guess I wanted to talk about it because I think there's so many of us who can wind up seeing lack and allowing ourselves to stay there because we think that's what is for us.
Yeah.
But I just want to encourage that I actually believe favor is for us because of who we are.
Yeah. One of our personal friends and friends of the show, Mark Wilburn, he trains people on how to trade the stock market. I had to think about how to say that without messing it up. But he talks a lot about your mindset in trading, but just in business or life, especially surrounding money. And one of the things that he talks about is how like there tends to be a view that, well, if I get money, that means someone else is losing money. But it doesn't always work that way. Like, that's not necessarily how things are created. And having that mindset of, well, better I don't have it than someone else is like that's a really poor mindset that will keep you in bondage. Like, I think thinking about business owners who create a business where people are purchasing a product, but then they're able to take that money and create jobs and uplift other people in a community. Like, that's a pretty amazing way of utilizing money. Like, don't you think you could utilize money well? Are there people who you're frustrated when you see that they have a lot of money because you're frustrated in how they use it? Well, like, why not you? Why shouldn't that favor be on you instead of them? And I think part of it is just simply our mindset. Like, you have to have a mindset that says favor or money or whatever is allowed. Like, I can have it. Like, that can be mine. And that's not always an easy thing to work through, depending on maybe how you were raised or your life experience. I think some people it probably does come a little bit easier to. But there is enough out there for everybody. There's enough for everybody. Like, favor does not mean God's blessing you and cursing someone else.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I also think that favor is a little different than abundance. You know, like, I don't know that favor always is like numerical,
sure,
money, financial
blessings. In the
I
situation you talked about, it was just time.
It was time, and it was just simply favor. Like, man, if they're going to pick somebody, let them pick us.
Yeah.
You know? And I think even this podcast, when we first started, we thought we were talking about finances and cryptocurrency and like currency, fiat, cryptocurrency, like that kind of value. And really, the Lord has led us into something completely different. And it is redefining what is wealth, what is value, and what is it that we're carrying. I don't actually know that our balance sheet is a good indicator of the value that we carry. But I would say the same about favor. Like, I don't know that always dollar signs or pesos or yuan or yen or rand or whatever is always the best way to gauge that. It might be being pulled aside to go to the front of the line. It might be going and needing something that's sold out, but guess what? They just found one and they just put it on the shelf, and you happen to be the one who gets it. And you have been intentional. I'm going to find one, It might, I don't know. It might be planning a day at the beach, having a rainy forecast, and all of a sudden the sun comes out anyway. I have no idea. It could be so many things. But I also want to just encourage to not limit it to like, I don't know. I need my bank account to reflect this, but maybe favor is bigger than that. Maybe abundance is bigger than that.
Yeah. No, I love what you said about like favor doesn't have to be the same as abundance. Like favor is just favor. It's opportunities, I think. Like you said, like maybe you're looking for a product and they don't have any, and someone comes out to stock the shelf when you're standing in front of it. Maybe it's really wanting to see the sunrise, and you just happen to wake up and it's peeking through the clouds in the right spot. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy things. It can be a simple thing.
For sure. I'll also say I think it does wonders for relationship with the Lord. Think about like in grade school when they're picking teams for dodgeball or whatever.
Sure.
And then if you're chosen first, it's like that feels pretty good, and if you're chosen last, that feels pretty horrible.
Yeah.
And what is it to be the favorite? But like, you're the one that tends to get chosen for things. You know what I mean? And it feels good to know that you want to be chosen. And I think this is what he communicates through this is like, no, you are mine. You are highly favored. And yes, I want to choose you. So many times, like to enter this relationship, it is us making that choice, but he chooses us all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess at least put your name in the hat. Like, let him choose you.
Put your name in the hat. Give him a chance.
Right. Give him a chance to choose you.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Really good conversation today.
Yeah. I hope somebody takes this to heart. I know there's somebody listening who needed to hear this, because I really think sometimes we forget about it, and it can change everything. Just a mindset shift.
Yeah. Simple, but something you got to practice.
Very true. Okay. Well, thank you guys for being with us today. This was a fun conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Good stuff. Have your kids go, or ask your kids what their questions are, and go put them on our post on social media. We want to answer them for you, for them.
Yes. Thanks. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey, thanks for listening. Keep up with us along this journey by liking, subscribing, and becoming a member through YouTube.
Members get exclusive access to bonus content with our guests, deeper dives into topics, and a look into other projects. We're glad to have you here. See you next time.